the country in the eye and say, I have the experience and I have the ability to be not just vice president, but perhaps president of the United States of America?
I do, Charlie. And on January 20th, when John McCain and I are sworn in, if we are so privileged to be elected to serve this country, we'll be ready. I'm ready.
That a moment from my old friend Charlie Gibson's interview with Sarah Palin, an interview which is appearing in installments. Some of it appeared this evening on World News Tonight, and there'll be more of it as time goes on in the next few days. Apparently, Charlie spent like a day and a half with her, I guess, and got quite a lot. There's more to it than just that, obviously, but we thought we'd let you see a little of that to give you a sense of how she looked and seemed. How looking and seeming is important in politics as much as what you actually say. And the panel around me has also had an opportunity to read some other excerpts from the interview. So let's get some thoughts on it now. Fred, how did it seem to you, broadly speaking, that she did in this interview?
I thought she did fine, and I happened to watch it as well on ABC, as well as read the transcript, and her answers were quick. She didn't have any problem. The other thing was Charlie Gibson, to his credit, there were no gotcha questions. You know, he didn't ask her, you know, who's the Prime Minister of Belarus or something like that, which, you know, some reporters have done with presidential candidates with those kind of gotcha questions. They were good questions. They were about the big issues, about Russia. They're about the Middle East and then particularly nuclear weapons in Iran and so on. And she said what she wanted to say. She didn't always answer his questions directly if she didn't want to. One, of course, was about whether it would be okay for a McCain-Palin administration tolerate or even support an Israeli bombing of the nuclear facilities in Iran. And she didn't say yes or no. She just stuck to her answer, which was that we support
we don't second guess.
Yeah, no, we don't second guess what Israel does for its own security, and she wouldn't go beyond that. She was extremely disciplined.
Yeah, she was very disciplined. We know now that she, before her trip last year to Kuwait and Germany, she's only traveled outside the U.S. to Canada and Mexico, which is, you know, I don't know if anybody's got, she's never met a foreign leader, as she pointed out. Other VP candidates haven't either. But I'm not sure that this is anything that's going to, you know, rattle cages or headlines. I thought what's interesting about Sarah Palin to me is that she's got a very high favorable rating with men, and she came across early on in the interview, the moose hunter. She came across when she said, you know, we're on a mission to protect this country, to reform. You can't blink. And I thought that was just showed a toughness that appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, she was impressive.
Well, let me just put the question to you this way, Bill. Obviously, she goes out and does this first interview, not a speech. Seasoned newsman, Charlie's a veteran newsman, knows his stuff. There were real pitfalls here. So the question that arises is, you know, did she come through it well enough that they can keep her out of these things for a while, or what do you think?
I think well, we'll see what happens tomorrow night at the rest of the interview, but I think she's come through it well enough that they should let her be herself and do a lot more of these. I mean, Charlie was pretty tough, as you say, and he did set a couple of traps. It was a fair interview, but it was tricky. I mean, would you fight for the sake of Georgia if Georgia were admitted to NATO? And she said, well, yeah, that's what NATO means. Article 5 of NATO is that each country commits to defend the others. And then ABC's new website, you know, hyped that as some kind of gaffe. Palin wants to go to war. She gave the right answer, and she reflected McCain's policy of admitting Georgia and Ukraine to NATO, which incidentally is also Biden's and Obama's policy. So I thought she handled that deftly. And then this question where Charlie mischaracterized her comment about how is this war God's task or something like that, which she really...
He asserted that she had said it was God's task, when in fact she was praying that it would be God's task.
And very much in the spirit of Lincoln, as she said, saying that we should always hope that we're doing what God would want us to do. I thought she was effective in answering that.
All right.
Well, I thought actually Charlie did try a gotcha question with this business about the Bush doctrine, which if you asked me in the middle of the night, I would have, but of course it's about the idea that the United States is entitled to take preemptory action against a country.
Well, that's part of it, but the big part of it was, a major element of it was that if you harbor terrorists, you're in the same category as if you are terrorists.
And if you have taken action against the United States, that it's assumed that you are going to, you're a threat to the U.S. She initially did not understand this, and I think that, you know, people can make what they want of it. My sense of it, also in terms of her response to the questions about Israel, she said Israel can do whatever it takes to defend itself. Well, wait a second. The United States has a tremendous stake in Israel as a democracy in the Middle East, and the consequence of Israeli action would have tremendous impact on U.S. Security and our role in the world.
But
and
how
again,
does that
she
differ,
doesn't say anything.
How does that differ from the administration's policy, which is basically the same idea, isn't it? That we don't second guess what countries do in their own defense.
Oh, believe me, we talk to Israel all the time.
I understand that.
And we, you know, if they strike in Syria or whatever, we have a lot involved there.
Have you ever heard an administration official say, though, that we're...
Well, I would think that Sarah Palin, what we heard from Sarah Palin today was, I think, evidence of extremely good training. She was on message and she was disciplined. But was I or anyone comforted that Sarah Palin now has the wherewithal to be president of the United States? I don't think so.
So, in other words, if you had misgivings about her before, you got them still.
That's what I think.
Anybody think she made a slip up?
I just was saying, her answer on Israel is almost verbatim the same answer Senator Obama gave when asked that. I believe it was on Meet the Press 4 or 5 months ago.